Hello, and thanks for joining me on this little weather journey that we're taking. Got a lot to talk about, including a pretty nice forecast for the next 4 or 5 days or so. You want to stay tuned for that. Promise to look at the snow totals across upper Michigan for the season. We were a little bit below average here in West Michigan. I gave you those totals last night. I'll probably post those in a separate blog post here a little bit later on. But here's some season snowfall totals from upper Michigan. We had 3 places I could find that had over 300 inches of snow for this past winter. There's a place called Tamarack, and I think that's just a place where they measure snow, where the snowplow drivers felt that that was the place that got the most snow. 331 inches. The record for the UP, by the way, is 390 inches. 315 at Delaware, the Keweenaw Chamber of Commerce, or I think it's the Chamber of Commerce, keeps track of that. Mount Bohemia, famous ski resort there, 314 inches. South of Munising, I think that's about 11 miles south of Munising, 257. Herman is west of Marquette. They had almost 250. Sault Ste. Marie was 83.4 inches above their average snowfall. Isn't that incredible? Over 200 inches for them. And I believe that's a top 5 snowfall total for the winter for Sault Ste. Marie. Marquette, 181.3. That's pretty close to average for them, I believe. Maybe even a little bit touch below average. Most of the snow fell west of them over toward Herman. Ironwood had 163, and Alberta had 160 inches of snow for the winter. So that's a lot of snow across the UP, and there's still a little bit of snow up there in a couple of places. We had a big swirl of clouds over us today, and it was right over lower Michigan, so most of us were cloudy during the day, but saw a little bit of sun as the sun set off to the west. You can see how sunshiny it was across the western and central upper peninsula of Michigan. And this is kind of interesting. Look at these temperatures. Again, second day in a row, it was warmer north and cooler to the south. At noon on Tuesday, the temperature was just 54 at Coldwater and at Benton Harbor. But if you were to go north to Grand Rapids, where it wasn't raining at the time, temperature was 60. Holland at the Tulip time activities there, and even 60, even with the wind slightly turned off the water there. Iron Mountain in the UP was 76 degrees, and compare that to Copper Harbor, which was right by the water there up in the Keweenaw Peninsula. They were only 50, so that's a difference there of 26 degrees. Can you imagine what it was like on, for those of you that know this, the highest road, I think, between the Rockies and the Alleghenies is the Brockaway Drive, which is up there around Copper Harbor. And I can imagine, with the wind and the cold, temperatures there would have been in the 40s. Really kind of an unpleasant day, but you only had to drive 50 miles or so, and all of a sudden you'd be wearing a T-shirt. And Tucson, Arizona, at the same time, Iron Mountain was 76. They were 59. It's been cooled in the desert Southwest. A lot of temperatures there only in the 70s. Well, today is the anniversary of the Portage tornado, and this was a devastating tornado. Peak winds 135 miles an hour, and that puts it at the top end of an EF2. If it was 136, it would have been an EF3. So this was a substantial tornado. Went right through a fairly populated part of the town, and there were no injuries. Now it says, there are no fatalities. It says there were no injuries here because some people self-treated or were treated on scene. Nurses or a doctor would be there, and they would treat somebody, or they had some supply, and it never really got we didn't get a notice of that, but there were some injuries with this, including a mobile home park where the tornado hit. The tornado was, if a football field is 100 yards wide, the tornado here was about 300 yards wide. The football field is 100 yards long, and so this was as wide a tornado as 3 football fields long. So this was a pretty sizable tornado. And churned for 11 miles. It was traveling at about 30 to 35 miles an hour while it was doing that. It was one of 4 tornadoes that occurred that day, and I believe we're already up to our season average. I think we've had at least 16 so far this year. Pretty quiet week going on this week here in terms of severe weather. We take a look at the severe weather map here for the day tomorrow, and once again, that same area along the Gulf, Texas, getting slammed day after day of thunderstorms there. You can see some of the mountains, and once again, most of Arizona has, and New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, with the chance of a thunderstorm. Phoenix has had some showers there. Pretty unusual to get several rainy days in a row in Phoenix during the month of May, or during any month, really. You can see there'll be some scattered thunder showers in New England. I would have included a little tiny spot from Grand Rapids south and east down toward northwest Ohio, where I think there is a chance a thunder shower could pop this Wednesday afternoon. But the odds of that are still less than 50-50. All right, we'll move on. Take a look at the severe weather threat for Thursday, and look at that large green area, dark green area. That's a level 1 severe threat from Texas to Florida and then up toward Maryland. They may add a slight risk if they can pin down where the storms are going to be. But again, a pretty large area of the south, seeing some heavy rains and some gusty winds with some of the thunderstorms there. All right, we're going to take a little time out right now, and we'll check with our sponsors, and we want to certainly thank them for coming on board with us here. And here's the message from Complete Care Concierge LLC.
First of all, I am not sure that I can handle any more severe weather around here, because working for an airline when there's severe weather is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
My phone logged 8.8 miles on my last shift because there were weather disruptions, and there's just so much running around that needs to happen when that happens, and I cannot take it anymore. So,
well, and you get it days in a row. I mean, when we get a bad thunderstorm day here, the next couple of days are usually pretty quiet, but not so in Birmingham.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I'm sitting on our porch tonight because it's a perfect night out here. And maybe you have a porch or another space that you need to get ready for summer and you need some cleaning, and Complete Care Concierge LLC has you covered. They are the fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service serving all of West Michigan. They clean residences, they clean commercial spaces, whatever you need, they've got you covered. 616-264-1397, 616-264-1397. And here's a word from our other sponsor.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Well, here's a look at our weather headlines. Basically a dry pattern for the next 6 days. There is the slightest chance of a thunder shower inland during the afternoon. That should be for today. And it's kind of interesting, if you are south of I-96 or near I-96 and east of US 131, that's the area that could pick up a random shower or thunder shower, which would be in the period from about 4 in the afternoon till about 8 o'clock in the evening. And then the activity will move down toward northwest Ohio and then kind of fall apart. There is a very, very, very slight chance of a thunder shower on Saturday, but most areas will stay sunny. Seasonable temperatures over the next couple of days. We should be up into the 70s today, with readings falling back into the 60s here for the day on Thursday. And again, great weather for the parades in Holland. I think you'll be rain-free here for Thursday and for Saturday. Riverbank run looks good, rain-free with comfortable temperatures. It won't be too hot, not too cold. Goldilocks weather, we like to call it. So really a good pattern here shaping up for Michigan. Taking a look right now at the Whitecaps will be playing here all this week. The game tonight is at 6:05 instead of 6:35. So the last time there was a 6:05 game that we went to, we got there about 6:20 and the game had already started, but we had so much fun. Partly cloudy skies, game time 72 degrees. Not impossible that there could be a thunder shower just off to the east. By the way, both the Whitecaps and Lansing have good records. I think the Whitecaps have won 17 games and Lansing 16. So they both have winning records, and you should see some good baseball along with having a good time outside. Maybe meeting a new friend, you never know. All right, that's the Whitecaps all this week and including next Sunday. Here's 66-hour rainfall, and boy, are they going to get soaked again. Look at the south, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, up toward Alabama there, and a stretch back across Kansas, where they really appreciate the springtime rains down there. You can see more shower activity out toward Arizona. It may rain in Las Vegas again. There'll be a couple of showers in the Pacific Northwest and rain in the east. It may rain half an inch in New York City. So some rain there. But look how dry it is here in Michigan across the Great Lakes in the upper Midwest. In terms of snowfall, this is kind of interesting. There's the snow that's falling mainly in Colorado. You can see the area has really shrunk as temperatures warm a little bit. And again, some of those mountainous areas could see as much as 3 feet of snow with this. I got one picture to show you from the Trail Ridge Road out in Rocky Mountain National Park, and that's what it looked like out there today. The snow was melting a little bit in the parking area where there was nobody, and I thought that was interesting. And I don't know whether anybody, I don't think they put down a lot of salt there, but they may. But you can see in the distance there, it was snowing and it was sticking to the grassy areas there. And there are webcams you can look at that are run by the national parks, which give you a good idea of what's going on out there. Okay, let's go on and take a look at today's forecast. Mid-70s today. It will be cooler near Lake Michigan. So if you're by the lake, you may need a light jacket, as temperatures there ought to be around 60 or so during the afternoon. Low temperature early morning at 49. There could be a couple of patches of fog early today. And other than that, it should be a great day. Humidity sinks down to 45% during the afternoon. Winds northwest to north, 5 to 15 miles an hour. They probably stay northwest off the lake during the afternoon. Water temperature of Lake Michigan today was up 0.3 of a degree to 40.6 is where it was at. Reed's Lake was at 59 this afternoon. Here's high temperatures for the next 3 days. We're peaking in the low to mid 70s across most of West Michigan. You can see that little green strip there where temperatures hold in the 50s and 60s right at the lake. And you can see the easterly lake breeze cooling off Milwaukee and Waukegan and area up toward Door County, Wisconsin as well. Outlook here for the day on Thursday calls for temperatures here to be a little bit cooler in the 60s. Again, you can see the cooling effect of the lake over in Milwaukee and also over by Lake Huron as well. And it's cooler in the UP. The UP will be about 10 degrees cooler Thursday than they will be here today, this Wednesday. And one more day will run you to Friday, start of the weekend here, and you can see what a beautiful day it's going to be. Some sunshine, chance of rain pretty much near zero here on Friday, with temperatures up into the low to mid 70s. I could even see an upper 70 or so down south of I-94. And the east winds providing a little cooler conditions there across the lake at Milwaukee. So while we see two days in the 70s and 1 day in the 60s, Milwaukee gets 3 days right on the beach there where temperatures will probably only be in the low 50s. All right, the long-range outlook goes like this out to 5 days. 20% chance of a shower or a thunder shower in the afternoon here this Wednesday. Chance of rain at the lakeshore is only 5%. Chance of rain pretty close to zero for Thursday and Friday. Should be 2 sunny and beautiful days. Grab the sunblock and head outside. 60s here Thursday and probably Friday. Friday we may make the low 70s here. And then up into the low 70s here on Saturday. 15% chance of a shower, thunder shower Saturday. That's an 85% chance of nothing. And no rain for Mother's Day. Should be a great day with temperatures in the mid 70s during the afternoon. The 8 to 14 day forecast shows above average temperatures, and that's from the Great Lakes on down toward Texas. Where's it going to be cool? In the Rockies and out in the western United States. So pretty cool month of May shaping up for the desert Southwest. Temperatures near normal if you're headed to Florida, but all in all should be a warm pattern. We're going to see some days in the 80s here in West Michigan. That warm a pattern here for us. The ridge is right over us. And in terms of rainfall, I think we'll be close to average here in West Michigan, with above average conditions out in the northern Rockies especially, and in parts of the east-southeast, but dry conditions return to a good portion of Texas. So that is our forecast.
And tragically, the trip to Grand Rapids that I was so looking forward to isn't going to end up happening, unfortunately. I'm blessed with work, so unfortunately I'll have to make it to Grand Rapids another time.
Why don't you introduce your little friend there?
Oh, this is Rosie. This is our kitty. She doesn't have a tail because it got run over and she had to get it amputated, which is how we found her. My grandma found her in pretty rough shape in Tennessee, and her tail had been run over, and it was a big mess, wasn't it? So she was my grandma's kitty until grandma moved into assisted living and did not think the cat would like the apartment lifestyle So then she became our kitty. So you've lived in 3 states. You've lived in Tennessee, Michigan, and now Alabama.
Yes, and I should mention that my mother didn't want a cat because she was afraid she would step on the cat's tail. And lo and behold, this cat appeared without a tail. So my mother said, "Oh, how wonderful!"
And she loves attention.
Yes,
and I'm so grateful that Grandma left us such a sweet kitty.
They were such pals together. My mother would go sit on the porch so she could read a book, and Rosie would come and climb right up where about she is on you now, and sit there and purr and just enjoy the day.
So I found a really interesting story for May 7. You know the bell that is outside the Grand Rapids Public Museum?
Yes.
There's a whole story about the bell. So the bell goes back to 1878, and it was used to summon the volunteer firefighters in town. So it was in a tower at the corner of Pearl and Ottawa, and I looked it up. It appears to be a bagel shop today. So I think that's what it is now. But in 1888, they moved it to City Hall, where it rang on the hour, and it was there until City Hall was demolished in 1969. And this picture that I found is the old City Hall. Isn't that beautiful?
It is. It was a great building, and there was weeping and gnashing of teeth when they tore that down.
Don't you wish you could just go back in time and say why?
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of modern architecture is just the square box.
It looks very much like Dallas's City Hall, which was probably just the design in that era when it was built. But isn't that so beautiful?
And a lot of time, a lot of people worked on a building like that.
So it was, the bell was there until 1969 when City Hall was demolished, and then the firefighter union purchased it because it had been used to summon the volunteer firefighters. And then it was installed at the new City Hall, and then eventually they moved it to the public museum where it is now. It was moved there in 1995.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, the next time I pass the museum, I will know the history of the bell.
Right. There's a whole story for the wonderful work that our volunteer firefighters have done, and all of our firefighters, and then the work that they did to preserve it over the years. And now it's a part of our history.
And it's nice to talk about things that are older than me. Yes.
All right. So speaking of tomorrow at the Grand Rapids Public Museum, Kentwood Public School students are interviewing family members who came to the United States after the fall of Saigon.
Yeah, that was a tragic episode. It really was. But they managed to get quite a few people out. I saw a program where they talked about 3,000 children that they evacuated from Saigon to the United States. And, many of them came here as entrepreneurs and started businesses and have been very successful.
So a wonderful forum to hear their stories tomorrow night at the Public Museum.
Right. And anybody can come to that, correct?
Correct. Okay, so here's an interesting piece of history that I found. May 7, 1864 is the first record that we have of a Baptist presence in West Michigan, and it was when the First Baptist Church of Hart met at Moses's house to get their church started. And Moses Townsend got the group together, and they started the First Baptist Church of Hart, May 7, 1864. And that's the first record that we have of Baptists in West Michigan.
Well, that's interesting. If I were named Moses, I think I'd put a burning bush in my front yard. That would get everybody's attention. Kind of fun.
And the Baptists were believed to be in Oakland County as early as 1818. They were in the U.S. and they were part of the English separatist movement before that. But the first record that we have of them being in West Michigan was 1864 in Hart. And the church is still there and going strong. Wow,
that's true. I think I've been in that church once for some reason. We used to vacation up in Oceana County.
So hello to everyone at First Baptist Church in Hart.
Yes, why not? Yes, I think I went to hear a lecture there. Wow, look at that.
And from your friend Grady.
Look at that.
Yeah, this was just from a day or two ago.
Wow. Yeah, this is out by Bozeman, Montana. And snowing and looking like winter. They get snowstorms up there. In fact, I think I read on the internet that the city of Calgary, their biggest snowstorm they ever had was in the month of May.
Wow, what a beautiful picture with the snow coming down.
Yeah, That's a pretty spot out there. You get off the airplane and you see the mountains there in the distance, and it's just really a nice place to be.
Speaking of, there you are.
Which one of those creatures is unbearable?
I can barely stand your jokes sometimes.
Yes.
This is embarrassing.
Yes, and I believe, was that at the airport?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And I took that picture flying in. The first time I went to Bozeman, I went there just for the day, and I was only on the ground for 2 hours. And they have all of the chairs in the airport set up to face the mountains. So I just went and got myself a little airport lunch and just sat there and looked at the beautiful mountains and flew home, and the whole thing was worth it.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
You don't even have to leave the airport to have a whole trip.
Yeah, and it's a really nice airport. They've got a nice gift shop there where they have all kinds of, things related to Western Montana at reasonable prices. So
you can stock up on your huckleberry tea.
Yes, huckleberry tea. I forgot about that.
Always a winner.
You remember? You wouldn't remember, but there was a cartoon character named Huckleberry Hound, and I believe that was part of the Yogi Bear cartoon series, Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, and then they had Huckleberry Hound. Yeah, interesting.
And a beautiful spring photo.
Herb, thank you for that. I've known him for a long time, and I appreciate the fact that he comes here to take a look at the blog and some of the chit chat we have right here. But those are beautiful flowers. Kind of reminds me of some of the azaleas. I don't know that those are azaleas, but it reminds me of the azaleas that they have at the Masters Golf Tournament, which was fun.
They're beautiful. If you have a beautiful photo of weather, science, travel, whatever, bill@billsteffen.com, and let's get it on the show.
Yep, sounds good.
And one from John Scully.
And if you look really carefully, just a little bit right of center, you can see Cassiopeia, which is also called the lazy W. It looks like a W that's kind of squished a little bit. There's 5 stars there. And that kind of worms its way around the northeastern sky here during the evening in summer, which is kind of neat to see. You look for the Big Dipper, and then you look for Cassiopeia. Interesting. Wow. Well, thank you to everybody that tuned in today. Certainly want to wish you a great day. We want to say a special salute to tulip time. Weather looking good out there. If you want to go see the blossoms and the tulips, there are millions of them, literally 4 or 5 million that are planted in Holland every year. So it's fun to see. And there's so many good things going on this time of year here in West Michigan. Enjoy your day, everybody.